I was just working on homework.
Okay, cool. So I just started recording. Um, I remember in his little notes, and he said during class that we're supposed to like introduce ourselves first.
Oh, okay, well, I'm Marissa Moyera.
Christian Martinez.
And I'm Jeff Goodrich.
Alrighty.
Uh,
So, I'll start off with Ray. I gave Ray an informal learning style inventory, and it was confirmed that he is a visual learner and rather kinesthetic too. I called his home and spoke with one of his sisters. Ray lives with his parents and two younger siblings. He's receiving C's in all his other classes, getting a D in this class, but I believe he is capable of better. I believe if he had friends and interacted more in class, talked about the assignments, his academic grades would. Hold on. Low. Is my reception good? Because I just got a warning saying that my connection's iffy.
no, you're coming in pretty good.
Yeah.
Let me know if it changes. Um, interacted more in class, talked about the assignments, his academic grades would improve. I don't know what he is going to do when he leaves high school. If he doesn't engage with people more and figure out how to solve problems, he'll never be successful in the workplace. His hearing issues are exacerbated by the fact that he comes from a home where the family speaks Spanish, so English is his second language. One thing I also need to consider is whether he needs any goals geared toward English learners based on CELT rather than intermediate. The brain damage resulted in loss of memory and ability to do some things he used to be able to do, and it makes it difficult for him to recall information he has learned. He's been quiet in my class, but I understand from other teachers he can have quite a temper, especially when he is frustrated. He has an IEP, but he is fully included in my class, and that special education teacher never seems to come by. I don't know anything about brain damage or what to do for him. I tried to explain. So is this written from Mr. Jones again? Or did I miss something?
It
Yeah, I
sounded
think it is Mr. Jones.
Okay. Let me make sure since it didn't say anything. Um oh, um he seems like more understanding and more like in his students' lives in this one. I feel like.
yeah, like maybe
Like,
the first one was just kind of his initial thoughts about him,
yeah.
and now he's kind of had him in his class for a little while longer. Maybe he's gotten to know him a little bit more. I mean, it definitely seems like he's collaborated more with the other
Mhm.
teachers, kind of saying he gets frustrated, um, things like that. So yeah, so I guess that's good. Um,
And it looks a lot better how he's over here complaining that where did it say the special ed teacher never seems to come by. He said so that's good because the other one it just seemed like he didn't really care that he didn't have that extra help there. I guess
yeah,
so.
like I don't even think he mentioned his special ed teacher last time.
He
I know he did for like the last kid, the kid with cerebral palsy, but I don't know if he ever did for Ray. I don't believe he did.
I just remember we talked about it. So either we realized that he never talked about the special ed teacher, or he mentioned it. I can't remember. I just remember talking about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's good.
I
It seems a lot more
I think
positive.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does seem like he's more caring, and I don't know. From what I'm understanding right now, to me it seems like Ray feels more comfortable in his class because he didn't mention he had uh, temper um, in this math class, but he has in other classes.
Mm-hmm.
So did he have a? Did he mention that he has like a temper problem in his class, or is it just other classes?
Other classes.
Yeah. So I wonder what that could stem from, like home life, or if he's just upset because he's just not getting it. Yeah, I wonder what's kind of causing that.
Did it say? I remember reading. I don't know. Okay, so when it said I don't know anything about brain damage, he for sure has brain damage and it affected his learning, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of. That's what I think is that it's like a
Because
for sure thing.
I
He's
know. I don't know if it's for sure, but I know like with I had a friend that she had like traumatic brain damage or whatever it's called, TBD, and her emotions after that were like all out of whack. Like things that like typical people would think is sad, she would laugh at, or if people are angry, she would be happy. Like it was, she had to like relearn how to put her emotions out there, so that could also be a factor. Like with his anger or temper or whatever it was.
yeah. I actually
But
I kind of have a friend like that too. Like I didn't know him before his accident, but
mm-hmm.
he does kind of he gets upset pretty easily. Like he'll kind of
Yeah.
have little episodes sometimes. So I don't know if that has to do with his accident that he was in 3-4 years ago, but that could affect
Mm-hmm.
Ray.
Yeah,
All right, and then you want to do Marta?
yeah. Last week, one of the teachers completed some assessments and told me the following about Marta. Marta just moved to the US from Mexico, so her nationality is Mexican. Her father is a farm worker and her mother works cleaning homes. We call her an English learner, or sometimes refer to her as being limited English proficient. After conducting a home language survey, we know that Spanish is spoken at home. She speaks Spanish and her parents do not speak English. The teacher who did the survey tells me that because she's an English learner, she has difficulty with listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English. She tells me that if I just teach, as I usually do, Marta cannot access the algebra curriculum and will not progress as her peers progress. But as I mentioned, her work is errorless. So I talked with Araceli, and after Marta's copying her work, surprisingly, Araceli told me that Marta is showing her, Araceli, how to do the work. That's why they are talking in class and why Araceli's work is so good. I had it backward. Marta seems to be exceptionally bright in figuring out the algebra by studying the examples in her book. She doesn't know what I'm saying and can read the textbook in English, but can discern what to do from the diagram. I did a learning style inventory and she scored highest as a visual learner. By the way, they tell me she dances folklorico and has since she was a little girl.
Mm,
And I
I'm
feel like,
having a feeling it's a different teacher completely.
well, the fact that he said I had it backwards makes me think that it's still Mr. Jones. Because in the
Oh yeah.
first part, he said that he thinks Araceli is, the one giving Martha the answers, but now he thinks it's the other way around.
That's true, yeah. It's just a complete 180 from the first one that it doesn't even sound like the same
Yeah,
person
yeah,
whatsoever.
exactly. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
am curious how he's gonna talk about like Steven or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like one of the ones where he really was out of
yeah.
line
I'm
for
also,
saying.
I'm also wondering if he's gonna change his teaching style because this is now the second kid in a row that he mentions as a visual learner, or like that's their stronger way of learning. So I'm hoping
Mm-hmm.
that he would really consider changing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So for Dylan, I reviewed the files on the students in this class, 6 boys and 8 girls, are very similar to Dylan. It appears they tend to have good study skills, listen and take notes, respond when I call on them. A couple are a little bit quiet, but all of these 14 can correctly show how to solve a problem on the board if I call on him or her to do so. On the learning styles inventory I gave to the class, Dylan scored about equally high in all areas, auditory, visual, and kinesthetic.
So it's kind of like what you guys have been saying, like this whole time, about how he's pretty much a typical student.
Yeah.
Yeah, like each time it's just nothing compared to the other
Yeah,
ones, I
yeah.
guess.
Just kind of standard Dylan, you know. Just kind of. Did it? So it mentioned his scores. Did it kind of mention that he was scoring a little higher or anything like that on there?
Dylan scored equally high in all areas, auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. That part were you talking about?
Yeah, yeah. That's what it was. So when they say
Yeah.
equally high, they're talking for him in all three areas. It was the same. Like it's not comparing him and other
Yeah.
students, right? Okay.
No. It says he gave it to the whole class, but he didn't say like what the other students scored or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it basically just means that Dylan is really good at learning all different kinds of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me, it almost seems, that would be like exceptional. The fact that he's really
Yeah.
good at pretty much everything. If he's not getting something one way, you could show it to him in another way, and he might just totally get it. Whereas with other kids, you really only have the one way. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not necessarily just the one way, but the one way that he has like a really good chance of learning it.
And I wonder how often it is that you have that many, because I'm just visual. I'm not any of those other ones at all.
Yeah.
Are you guys more than one?
No, I personally am more auditory. Yeah.
And then Jeff, do you just have one also?
I mean, I feel like I'm visual. I've never like taken a test or anything on that sort of thing, but yeah, I mean, I definitely like drawing pictures and stuff when I'm doing problems. Helps me see it a lot.
Should we go to Bill next?
Yeah, I could probably even read one. You guys just won't be on the screen for like a minute or two, but it's probably not a big deal.
Or what if we copy and paste it and send it on the chat? Would that work?
Yeah, I mean, we probably could do that.
Yeah.
Because this one's smallish. I mean,
I don't know if you. Yeah, I was wondering if you could even copy it because it's not like a Word document. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. You can. Okay. So, Bill was very surprised when Bill's records came in and found out that he has excellent grades. That is a bit surprising for a student who has been moving around as much as he has. I've noticed from his classwork and 2 weekly exams that he seems to be extremely sharp in algebra, scoring 100% on 2 tests. He is doing fine in my current instruction, getting a straight A grade. Also, his records identify him as being a natural born leader, respected by his classmates. On the learning styles inventory, I gave the class Bill's scores on kinetic and visual tied in his as highest. Auditory was only a few marks lower. I've talked to his mother briefly. She called to touch base and make sure Bill is doing well. She mentioned that his father works in the field of designing strategic missiles, and she teaches math at the local community college. Mom tells me the family plans for Bill to attend West Point, as did his father and grandfather. Bill has a younger sister. So yeah, I mean,
So
just the fact that his mom is a math teacher, I mean, I would assume he's going to do really well in math. Getting 100% on 2 tests, yeah, he better, and yeah, then it talks about him being a natural born leader. I mean, that's no surprise, I mean, just his attitude towards he wants to be a Navy SEAL and stuff. I mean, to me that.
And I liked hearing how, because I remember when I first read his, I was nervous for the fact that he moved around, not just from like city to city or state to state. It's totally out of the country, and then other countries, they have like different education plans than us. And the fact that he's still caught up is good. Because I mean, he could have skipped a whole grade, or he could have missed a whole like lesson or something. So that I felt comforting.
Also, too, he's pretty much on the same boat as Dylan in terms of like styles of learning, because auditory was not that much lower than the other two, so he pretty much can learn anyway, which I guess, like you guys were saying, was kind of exceptional.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, let's see what's going on, Gina. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, Gina, on the learning styles inventory I gave to the class, Gina scored high on visual and kinesthetic styles. I've also received information from one of the girls in the class about Gina. I'm not sure what to do with this information. The other girls tell me that Gina has confided in her and told her that her mother's boyfriend has been sneaking into her bed and having his way with her. He tells Gina she asked for it, and he has been doing it for about 2 years. I heard this information this afternoon. What am I supposed to do? Do you? 5 girls are victims of molest. The fact that he doesn't know what to do bothers me, because if he's a teacher, even just, I think, Jeff, you also substitute, right?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Bio,
yeah.
Whatever. Like for when I was hired on as substituting, it was like this big long video I had to watch and read this paper and sign this and sign that, explaining that if you hear anything even a little like bad, you have to report it, because we're something mandated.
Mandated report.
Yeah. Like it's like.
So the fact that he didn't know what to do bothers me.
It's like 6 months in jail. Like if a teacher doesn't report something like that, like the teacher serves like 6 months in jail for that, So yeah, I mean, if I knew Mr. Jones, I would call him right now and be like, yeah, you gotta report that, like, immediately.
I mean, I understand by being surprised by it, but he could have said surprised rather than, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know. Totally. I mean, I'd probably sit there and be stunned for a second, like, but I would still know what to do. I'm hoping that's just like an expression or something, not serious.
Now, how would you even get access to that? Like, because I know you're supposed to report it, but I'm trying to, like, I took the same type of lesson that you did, like the, but I kind of forget. Like, I don't even know. I know I have to call somebody.
Well, from what I was told, we just have to let our principal know, and then he tells us, like, at school I'm at right now, he tells us, like, the next step.
Yeah.
So it's always go to him. I haven't been told, like, a number or, like, a company or anything that you go to. I just know that you go to who's in charge at your school.
Yeah,
For
but
us,
even
at
if,
least.
like, let's say the
Yeah.
principal says, don't worry about it, like, you still have to report it. So if you go up to the principal,
Then I think I would go to the districts, like,
yeah,
just go into them, because there has to be some way to find that number.
yeah. I mean, I was just thinking,
Yeah.
like, Googling it or something. Like, there would
Oh,
just
yeah.
be, like, I forget what it's called, like, whatever, but there is, like, a special thing that you go to. Yeah, we should actually find that out. Probably even for this, like, for, for our little final project, or
I
even
think
for
there's
today,
one in the
this week's.
staff room. I think. I'll look tomorrow, and then if
Yeah.
so,
Take a photo of that or something, or whatever. Um,
I know
yeah.
too in my training at my school, they were like huge on like telling. I know for us, we have to tell the counselors, and then once there is the right time, and that same day, like as soon as possible, we have to write like this really specific report,
Yeah.
and like they send it for us, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also sorry, Marissa, it actually was my turn. So if you guys want, I could read the last two. Sorry,
No,
no,
I
you're
just got
good.
confused.
I was actually thinking that too. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Christian's turn, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't like because I didn't want to read. I
Yeah.
just I like got it mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah.
No worries at all. Alrighty. You want to go on to Roxana?
Yeah. I later learned that Roxana and her family were refugees, leaving their home country due to warfare, persecution of Christians. She is Chaldean. That must have been hard for her, maybe even traumatic. The learning styles inventory I had Roxana complete shows she is a visual learner, but also scores high on auditory. I found out from her mother that she is interested in art and draws in her spare time. She has one best friend, Heather, who is also in my class. Roxana's English is very good, and she would benefit from asking questions about the math processes she does not understand. Oh, and I found out I was wrong. Her name is not a creative spelling, but she is named after an ancient Iranian princess. Cute kid.
But he doesn't even say her name right. Like, back to the regular Mr.
True.
Jones we know. 4 letters in, 5 letters in, or words in. My goodness. I don't know. It seems like I like how he is now getting to know her and he knows what she's coming from and everything, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like he didn't say, oh, maybe because of all that, I should talk to her and see how she's doing, or I should, like, get her to go to the counseling office or anything like that. So,
Mhm.
I didn't like.
Hey,
I also think it's interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
sorry. Do you guys mind if I put it on pause real quick? My laptop's about to die. I need to get my charger.
The,
Is that cool? All right. Just 1 second.
the same thing.
All right. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
I was gonna say with Roxana and Martha too. I think it's interesting how he's mentioned the special education teacher with Ray, but he still won't mention the ELD service or English language learners or development
Mhm.
resources with Martha and Roxana. I know he says Roxana speaks English well, but it doesn't mean necessarily that she understands it and reads it as well.
Mhm.
So I'm just like, well, he hasn't mentioned that with them, and I would figure he would when he mentioned the special ed services for Ray.
He did mention for Marta that she was an English learner. I mean, he didn't mention anything about a teacher or like being in a program, so I don't know if he's using it as just like that term. But he didn't mention, or he did call her English learner and limited English proficient. So I don't.
So
I'm
that's
hoping that like a little bit behind that is like a teacher connected to it or like an EL program or something. But yeah.
mhm.
Alrighty.
I mean, it
Then you
just.
want to go to the last? Oh, keep going.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it just kind of seems like the major difference between this case study and the last two. It's almost like combining the last two. You know, he's just kind of discovering what these guys have gone through from last. Everything they told us last time, Mr. Jones is now aware of. So
Mhm.
it's kind of making like a big difference, just in terms of. It just kind of shows like getting to know your students and stuff, how important that is. I think
Yeah.
because now you kind of act on all that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you guys want, I could. If you want to copy and paste it, I could probably read the last person's.
Alright.
Um, so Stephen. After talking with his special education teacher, I've learned Stephen is rather isolated and has an IEP goal of making and keeping friends. I also learned that other students can make fun of Stephen's wheelchair and call it an electric chair. They say things like, "Hey, skinny boy, how come you, how come you still alive when you've been in an electric chair?" They call him diaper boy or sometimes crip, but not a crip, not a cripe. Is that? I've noticed that Gina especially likes to flirt and tease him, but then says something mean. He did complete the learning styles inventory, and his highest scores were visual and auditory. I thought he should stay in his special education class because he is so needy and because it takes time for him to ask questions and give answers in class. But they tell me he is too advanced academically and intellectually to be taught math by his special education teacher with the rest of his special education class. Steven's parents seem to be insistent, according to the para, and want him to have all the best possible services. They are very involved with his schooling. I guess that's what it means to be a parent who advocates for their child. We try, but we are a small school in a small district. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think he should still be in the current class he's in. I mean, because I've done a lot of like special ed stuff for the high school I work at, and it's, I mean, yeah, I would say exactly what they're saying. You know, it's just not. It's a way slower pace, you know, and everything's very. And his deal isn't, you know, has nothing to do with him intellectually. He should probably even be in a more advanced class than he's in now. So, I mean, I know that Mr. Jones doesn't really like, you know, the fact that it's hard to get answers out of him, I guess, because everything's so slow and stuff, but I mean, I just kind of feel like it is what it is, you know. You just kind of make adjustments for that, and you work with the para and stuff, and kind of get through it anyway.
Yeah, I also feel too like I'm noticing he's not really as involved, like trying to like mediate with the students. Like he's noticing bullying, but he doesn't mention that he does something about it, or he even like at least lets an administrator know. Maybe we'll find that out later, but it's just it worries me that he hasn't said anything about Gina and nothing about Steven either. Like taken action for them.
That's literally what I was going to say. I'm kind of having this feeling that. Do you remember in the beginning? Did it say how long he's been teaching?
I don't.
I can try to pull up the first one.
I might be wrong, but I kind of have a feeling that he might be like a new teacher, just for the fact that it didn't seem like discipline is like a strong suit of his. I feel like he's being like walking on eggshells, kind of, because he's letting things like that shouldn't be let go away, and he doesn't know what to do when big things happen and that he moves eyeball.
Yeah, it doesn't mention either the first case study how long he's been working as a teacher.
Yeah. I got the impression he's been at it a while.
I did too in the beginning, so I was imagining him as like an old grumpy guy.
Yeah.
But then like now is how he doesn't go. I don't know. He doesn't really act on things.
Yeah,
He's more of like a shy person. I don't know. I get more of like that shy, oh no, run away feeling.
Yeah. I mean, like the thing with Gina, you know, like he didn't know what to do when he found out that she was being abused. You know, I mean that's probably a new teacher thing.
I feel like if you've been teaching for a while, you should already know that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe this could be like his first year teaching. Maybe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're just nervous about everything? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem to know how to handle kids in his class picking on him. I mean, yeah, it's got to be. And I don't understand why these kids are picking on him. Like, that's not really. I mean, have you guys seen that in schools that you've worked in? Like, I've never seen really handicapped kids getting picked on like that.
I haven't, thankfully, seen like any bullying at all.
Yeah.
Like what they show in movies and stuff. Because I was trying to like think back on like when I was in school, and like, oh my gosh, was there bullying? But I don't remember any. And then like watching like movies and stuff, it looks like it's awful. Which I'm sure some places it is awful, but I don't think it's as big as I think movies and shows and stuff make it seem out to be. Because that was one thing that I was like mainly nervous about, like having to watch out and make sure that each kid doesn't believe in what the bully says or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was really scared for. But I haven't seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it stays that way.
I mean, that could be a good thing just in the fact that maybe like you've got techniques that you're doing that's almost preventing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're kind of walking around a lot, you know, interacting with the kids, keeping them engaged and stuff. I almost feel like most bullying kind of happens when they're bored.
Yeah.
You know, they're just kind of
on breaks and recess or whatever grade it is, lunchtime. I'm sure it happens more then than in the classroom, because there's more places that you could be without like a teacher nearby. Like in a classroom, you're in a closed room, and it's a teacher that's looking over you, compared to like at recess, you could be in the far corner and there's not a teacher for a while. So I don't know. Um,
Should we start doing the what we'll do for the assignment?
Yeah, I just made the Google Docs. Adding it. Okay, so review what I knew. Who wants to do that one?
I'll do that.
There we go. Alright, what I still need to know.
Did you prefer doing that, Marissa, or would you prefer another one? I kind of like the how thoughts have changed, but I don't mind doing any of them.
Sweet. Are the last... Oh no, how and why. So do you want to do the how or the why?
I was leaning towards more of the how, but if we maybe I could even do both if you guys prefer, because you know how we have to do. We would each do two things: the title page, one section, or the abstract in one section. Because I know last week I did the title page, so maybe someone else can take it on this week.
Sure, I'll do that.
What did you say, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I could do the title page.
You both done the abstract already, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe do you guys prefer if I do it this week just so it's equal? Each of us have done it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So then I take over. I'll take over the Y. Perfect. Alright, and then I already sent it out to you guys, so you guys should already have access to it now.
Sweet.
And then when it uploaded to YouTube, just send it to me and then I'll get that submitted, okay?
Okay. Oh, I could probably even like submit it. I mean, all you do is just put the link on the comment section, or
Yeah, I just do the right submission and then instead of browse computer or whatever it is, and then I just paste it into that.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I could do that.
You can do okay. Alrighty, perfect. And then same as last usually. Just make sure it's in by Saturday at like 10. So if I have any questions, I can get a hold of you guys, okay?
Yeah. Cool.
Got it.
Should we each write like a part of that 2 to 3 pages reference or whatever? That is, I haven't really looked at the assignment.
Each write 2 or 3 pages?
No, it just says prepare a paper of 2 to 3 pages.
Yeah, like how we did the first one?
Yeah. Like I never know what we're supposed to do with that too. Are we just writing pretty much what we wrote in the charts?
I think so.